Morning, everybody. Good morning to everyone here on the Westside Unitarian Universalist Church grounds, and to those of you joining us on Zoom this morning. As a congregation, we welcome all people of goodwill, regardless of their specific beliefs and values. I will speak it. Okay, better? Wow. All right. Can I start over? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Linda Fippin, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. As a member of the worship committee, I will be facilitating today's service, in which members of the Westside Board of Trustees will be sharing their thoughts about what being on the board means to them and to the Westside community. We usually do linger for a little while after the service, although it's particularly this morning. If we want to hang out and talk to each other, that's fine after the service. The Zoom coffee hour will be starting shortly after the service ends. And a few of the board members will be at the coffee hour too, so if you want to ask us questions then, but there will be a time for questions at the end of today's service. And that's a bit. So before we begin, I have a few announcements. As usual, the Religious Exploration Group is continuing on Zoom at 6:30 on Thursdays, as it has been for quite a while. And the Zoom link for that is on the members portion of the website too. And don't forget, we have the survey. There is a survey that's been sent out. Hopefully everybody in the congregation should either have gotten it in the newsletter or seen it on Facebook or on our website. There is a survey regarding your feelings about when and if we can start resuming indoor services and other in-person kinds of activities. So please get that done as soon as possible so that we have that information to make decisions by the reopening committee and the board for as we move forward and hopefully start getting back to a more normal way of life again. A reminder too, the fall retreat will be at Pickett State Park. That's November 5th, 6th, 7th. I think everything is all taken up as far as accommodations, or there might be camping sites available. You're also welcome if you don't want to come, if you're not going to be coming up for the retreat in general, you can certainly be welcome to come up on Saturday for a picnic, a bring your own food picnic. If you are going to do that, it would be good if you would let Reverend Carol know. Also, we have an auction coming up, and Suzanne Molnar, I'm sure, has some things to say about that.
Before I do that, though, I don't know if there's anybody here who has not been out at Pickett State Park, particularly in the fall. It is incredible. It is just the most wonderful place to be in the fall in East Tennessee. It's gorgeous. There's interesting walks out every door, every corner. So talk to one of us who's been there a dozen times if you want more information. Okay, the auction. The auction is when? 27th. Yay, okay. Chris is threatening to boo me, so I'm not sure when that's going to happen. It's live. It's here. We'll be on the grounds. We have a big tent in case there's rain, so we can actually have it, but hopefully not. People have been great at coming up with auction items. So many, it's not like I'm going to read it all, but just so you know, there's so far 4 different dinners that are offered. Carol Coffey has offered us Cherokee Lake in the afternoon at daffodil time to walk the spiral out, the labyrinth out there. Mike Fisher, remember Mike, psychiatrist, for some reason loves washing windows. I think it's diagnosable, but I'm not going to say it to him. He washes inside and out. All he asks is you take off your screens. And he's offering 2 places of that. Oh gosh, talked about some of this before. Oh, the yard monkeys are back. Alice and Jerry Thornton, who do really great work on your yard, I can tell you personally. Yetta and Craig, a canoe trip. Canoe for 5 miles and then go to downtown Knoxville and get drinks and appetizers. And so many concrete things. It's just not possible for me to even, yeah, anyway, a bunch of them are right in there that you can look at, but there's lots more coming. So 2 to 5, Reverend Carol's going to have wizard themed games. This is wear costumes if you can get yourself to do that, because it's fun and it's wizard themed, but it's also, you know, Halloween. So kind of whatever. Dave Goforth is back bartending. We do not have the ability to take credit cards. You need to dig out your checkbooks, wherever it is you keep them. Or you can bring that funny kind of greenish, crumply, foldy stuff. But checks are better because that's a little bit more flexible in terms of you say, oh yeah, and I want that, and I want that, and I don't have enough green foldy stuff. So, but come, whether you're going to spend a lot of money or you figure, nah, I'm going to come get a drink and party, that's fine too. See you Saturday, I hope, all of you.
Thank you, Suzanne. See, that was, the question was, would there be drinks? And it's beer, wine, cider, soft drinks.
Yeah, okay. That's tentative. You know, this is last minute stuff. But the beer and wine are definite.
Beer and wine are definite, and sodas. Now to kind of switch gears just a little bit here and try to get into a little bit more contemplative space, I will ask Chris to bring the Tibetan singing bowl. Barry Shempert will be lighting our chalice this morning. While he lights the chalice, I will share these words from Cynthia Landrum called Connection and Commitment. As we kindle this flame, may it spark in each of us connection and commitment to this living tradition and to each other. I'm going to turn things over to Chris to talk a little bit about the board and how it's structured and what the roles
are. My name's Chris Edkins. I'm on the worship committee, but my role on the board is as past president. So I thought I would just get out of the way, like the structural stuff for you. So we wanted to talk about the board of trustees and the roles, because in this time of COVID, where we haven't been meeting in person in the building, we thought maybe there are people in the congregation who don't even know who the board members are right now. And we wanted to, let you know that we are there for you if you need to talk to somebody or make helpful suggestions, and that you can contact us if you have any concerns about the church or, you know, about where it's going today. So the board consists of 9 voting members. We have 3 trustees at large who are people that are drawn from the congregation, so that we have a variety of different viewpoints on church life to put into our board deliberations. And they are 3-year positions that are supposed to rotate, that each person serves 3 years and rotates off, but it's staggered so that there's always somebody new coming on and somebody going off. We have the president, whose job it is to set the agenda for the board meeting and do pretty much anything that needs doing, as Barry will attest to, you know, that comes up during the course of the president's term. And we have somebody who's like a president in waiting, the president-elect, who's kind of coming up to speed to take that role. And we have the past president, which is my role, who is there to share their experience of the past 2 years on the board with the current president and the president-elect. And then we have some positions that are very functional. Charles Dudney over here is our treasurer. He takes care of the paying out the money, and as opposed to the assistant treasurer that is not a voting board member who takes in the money. So we've got that separation of duties. We have the chair of the finance committee, who is currently Anne Harvey, and we have the clerk, Judy Burchett, who the clerk's job is to take the minutes of the meetings and basically keep all the records for the board. And Judy is doing an awesome job. Thank you, Judy. I didn't actually mention who the trustees are. Our current trustees are Andy Galt, who's here with us today, Linda Fippin, who's standing right next to me, and Morgan Ringlespar, who's traveling out of town and unfortunately couldn't be with us, but has left us a statement. And I'll just say Carol Coffey is our president-elect, and Grechen Wingerter is our president currently. Carol's here and he's going to be sharing with us, but Grechen is out of town and has left a statement for us. So that is the composition of the board. So just to let you know who those are, you can always approach any of those people and talk to them about congregational life or what's going on with the policy of the church. How do you get on the board? We have a nominating committee. The usual way for you to get on the board is the nominating committee will approach you and ask you to serve. The nominating committee also rotates out every year, except for like one carryover each year. So if the nominating committee comes and asks you to serve in a role in the church, please say yes if you're able, because it's an important part of church life. Before I sit down, I will just talk a little bit about myself. This is my second term on the board. The first time I was asked by the nominating committee to serve, and because of things that were going on at the time, I actually quit halfway through. So this time I volunteered to come back on the board because I wanted to have another go and complete out my term, you know, having gained a little bit more perspective and maturity. So I love Westside. I've been a member here for since 2004. So how many years is that? I know 17 years I've been a member, and I came to the church because I wanted to do some service work, and I thought that here in East Tennessee, being a member of a church was probably the main way to do that. And of course, I ended up being sucked into committee life. I've been on the worship committee just about the whole time that I've been at the church. And I really enjoy being up here and getting to know you all and to serve you all and the wider community. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to be of service. I'll hand it back over to Linda.
As Chris mentioned, the president of the board, Grechen Wingerter, is out of town this weekend. She did leave us a written statement, and she's also videotaped it.
Good morning. I am Grechen Wingerter, president of the Board of Trustees. And first of all, I apologize for not able to be there in person today for this introduction to the Board of Trustees. I have been dealing with some family things out of town, trying to get my father moved down to Knoxville and trying to take care of some things for him. And it ended up, this was the only time that I could go within these last few weeks. So we've been working on this for a little while, and he's finally gonna move down here, and we're working on moving all of that forward. So, but anyway, here we are talking about it taking a village, and it definitely takes a village to get your family taken care of and all of those things. And so I'm here to tell you a little bit about me and my involvement in Westside and Unitarian Universalism as a whole. I am a lifelong UU. I grew up in Rockford, Illinois, and attended and joined the Rockford Unitarian Universalist Church when I was 16. And so I've been a member of that church ever since then. I started attending Westside when I moved here to Knoxville in 2015 and officially became a member here in 2018. Shortly after, joined the Board of Trustees as president-elect, and I've had the unique task of serving as board president through the beginning, middle, and hopefully now the end phase of this global pandemic. And although I grew up as a UU and always considered myself to be UU, during most of my adult life, I struggled to find another home church like the one that I grew up in. Part of that, of course, was due to moving around a lot and never really being settled anywhere for more than a few years. Part of it was living in places where there just really weren't any UU congregations. And part of it was not feeling ready to settle down into any one place. Maybe some commitment issues at play there. No. But when I came to Westside, when I came to Knoxville, something felt different for me. I felt that I discovered a little piece of home in East Tennessee. I think maybe it was the mountains. I've always been drawn to mountains. I wanted a place for my kids where they could be who they are without judgment. I wanted a place where I could meet like-minded people. I wanted a place where I could be actively involved in the community. And I found those things at Westside and in Knoxville. And I began getting involved. I began getting involved in the RE program to help my kids get settled. We loved Hogwarts Camp. It was our yearly favorite. And even as my kids got older and their interest in attending things at Westside sort of waned, they still loved coming to Hogwarts and helping out with that. They still are somewhat connected with some of the things that are going on, and they'll come with me if I ask them to on occasion. But they still got the foundation that I wanted them to get, which was curiosity, kindness, questioning injustice, and really mostly continuing to be uniquely them. And all of that was supported, and that made me happy. Eventually, I began to get more involved on committees and then joined the Board of Trustees. And then the world kind of shut down. And before I could really begin to make the kind of connections that I wanted to make and to be the kind of board president I wanted to be, we retreated into our own private corners of the world. And it's been challenging. It's been a challenging year for all of us, and a challenge to make and maintain connections with those that were not already in our immediate circles. We lost touch. And what this past year has taught many of us, myself included, is that we need those connections. We need touch, to be in touch with our community at large, beyond our immediate circles. Can we survive without that? Sure, we can. But like I tell my students, when we're talking about art and whether we can survive without art, sure, we can survive without it. But what are we doing those things for if we don't have it? Same is true with those connections. We build those relationships because we need them, because we want them. And my goal as president of the board is to begin to rebuild those connections here at Westside, to bring us back together, safely, of course, but to bring us back together in order to keep building and maintaining this village. So that's my goal for all of us, for you, for me. Thank you.
I will thank Grechen in absentia for that. And now we're going to hear from our president-elect, Carol Coffey.
That is, if I get out of my chair. "30 years is a long time to be. 30 years is a long time to be associated with any one group. In the case of Westside University's church and me, it's more than a third of my life, and almost, but not quite, all the life of Westside. Obviously, I feel there's great value here in the people, the friends that I have made, and the work we've done together. Chris and I shared the presidency. I was president before him. He succeeded me, and I learned a great deal during that time. Why would anybody accept the job of president-elect? Well, to be perfectly honest, I accepted because a person for whom I have great respect, Chris Edkins, asked me. And because there was a special need, special situation that required someone who had some experience in the presidency and who understood what the job entailed. The president-elect position is a 3-year commitment to concentrated involvement in the church's work. The first year is a training period while you learn how the Board of Trustees perform, learning the people with whom you work closely for the next 3 years. The second year, you serve as president of the board, conducting the meetings of the board and working closely with the minister to help the church function smoothly. The third year is spent as past president, trying to smooth the transition for the new president. During the 3 years on the board, the president-elect serves as executive committee with the president and past president. The executive committee may be called to make decisions involving the best interest of the church when there's not time to call a meeting of the entire board. The first year as president-elect, most important duty is the selection with the nominating committee of new members of the board to replace those members who may be rotating off the board. Members of the church can greatly aid this process by letting the president-elect or a member of the nominating committee know if they are interested in joining the leadership of Westside. It is a real honor and a pleasure to serve Westside and watch it grow and watch it do the things that it has done.
Thank you, Carol. One of the other members who is not present today is one of our newest members, Morgan Ringelspaw, who is a trustee at large. She has left us a bit of a message as well. She has to say this: "Here at Westside, we are a community of people who support one another in our individual journeys for truth and meaning. while affirming the inherent dignity and worth of all beings. This is something we hear and we say at almost every surface. But what does it mean? Does it mean that we come together on occasional Sundays, maybe meet on Zoom coffee hour or Thursday conversations? What does community look like? For me, and for many of us who come to Westside, come searching for meaningful connections, a community is like a second chosen family. It's people that we can come to in our time of need or discuss deep topics. It's people we can depend on for support in our time of need and with whom we can share our joys. Community is more than just a Sunday morning fellowship. There's the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. The importance of community, though, does not end with childhood. As members of the board, we wanted to take a moment to reintroduce ourselves, say hello to our community, and let you know that we are here for you for all things. And if something we can't help with, we can get you in contact with those who can. I'm going to take just a couple minutes to say some things about my own participation in the board. I first came to Westside in the spring of 2017, which seems like a zillion years ago now, and became a member about a year later. I was drawn to Westside's sense of community and the UU acceptance of ideas and beliefs that do not find acceptance in other parts of East Tennessee communities. I first joined the Board of Trustees in late 2019, replacing Helen Rose, now Casara. For most of the time since, the board has been focused on maintaining a path for the congregation through the ups and downs of COVID. For me then, the most important part of being a member of the board is helping to keep the congregation together as a community when its members may be pulled in different directions or simply drift away. I also feel strongly that it's important that members of the congregation are comfortable bringing any ideas or concerns that they have to the board, and we plan to find new ways of improving communication so that people feel they have input into board discussions and decisions. And before we, that's all of the programmed talks we have, but if we would like to, I'd like to open this up to questions from the board members. If you're a board member, can you raise your hand? A big contingent of the board is here this morning. So if anybody has questions, just come up, I'll hand you a microphone and we'll have a little back and forth.
This is not a question. This is my statement about why I'm on the board. Okay, is that better? Okay. Craig Brandt and I have been working together on the financial operations of this church for over 30 years. He and I served together on the board when Dillman Baker Sorrells was our minister. Personally, my wife and I joined the church because the kids were in kindergarten. And in this ocean filled with Baptist sharks, they needed to be able to answer the question, what church do you go to? Nancy and I needed a minister who gave sermons that were engaging. And Dillman filled that requirement probably better than any of our ministers since. No offense to the current one. She was really something special. Okay, back to what Craig and I do. I handle the expense side. I write the checks, make reports to the board on what we've spent our money on and how much is in the bank. Craig receives donations and puts them in the bank and then sends reports to our donors. Then there are a few other IRS requirements that happen quarterly and monthly, quarterly and annually. So that's what he and I do on the board. With regard to why I support this church as much as I do, this church supports my efforts to help people with their taxes for free. This past year, we did 300 tax returns, which is down from what we did the year before, but that was because of COVID. Okay, for that 300 returns, we brought almost $200,000 of federal money into the community. And I want to thank each and every one of you for helping us do that. Us is about 6 volunteers, one of whom is Craig again, but the rest of them are not members of the church. Anyhow, if you have any questions about the finances of the church, Craig and I are the ones you need to come talk to.
Any other board members have anything that they would like to say? Can't believe nobody has any questions. I mean, we make all the decisions for how the church runs here. So, well, Reverend Carroll has a hand in that too. But very.
Harry Shumpert again. I've served on the board in normal times. I've served on the board in more normal times, and it's a great honor, but it's also a responsibility, and it's a job. And I'm in awe, really, of the boards and what they have done over the last year and a half, 2 years, and the challenges they've faced, and how well they have seen us through it. I just want to express my appreciation to them.
As a member of the board, I'd like to thank the reopening committee who did a lot of the hard work that was involved in making the recommendations to the board about how we've been moving forward this past year and a half.
My name is Judy Burgett, and I'm the clerk on the board. And I just wanted to say, when I came to this church 2 or 3 years ago, my intent, what I was really looking for was a social home, place to make friends and acquaintances and connections. And I have found, and I also interest in environmental and social issues. And it has been a fantastic experience for me, and I was appreciative to be allowed to serve on the Board of Trustees, particularly since I had not become really involved. And it has been a great learning experience, and I have appreciated the entire experience. And I'm glad to be here. So thank you.
Anybody else? Dave Howell has something to say.
This is a question specifically for board members who've been around for a long time. Ministers come and go, and some of the board members have been here through several ministers. I've been through 3 now, counting Morris. And I would just like some board members to talk about how the way the board works changes as the personality and goals and so on of the different ministers come and go.
Apparently people were pointing at me to answer that question. It is a challenge, especially here at Westside. You know, when I first came here, the culture of the church was not exactly the same as it is today. Now, as members come and go, the culture of the whole congregation changes and shifts over time, as well as when ministers come and go. I think the most important thing between the relationship between the minister and the board is that we have mutual respect for each other's roles. Obviously, the minister brings a wealth of expertise in worship and pastoral care, and we respect as lay members the freedom of the pulpit that the minister enjoys. And as board members, yes, we have a responsibility to safeguard the future of the church and to plan for that future, including the members that may not be yet here in the church. But we also are very much focused on the day-to-day operations of the church, how the finances work, how we're going to get new members in, the maintenance of the building. So we have a very practical role, and we also have like a visionary role. And that in that visionary role is where the job of the board and the job of the minister overlaps, and we have that conversation, the back and forth of how do we bring forth the mission of the church, and how do we make sure that the church is going to be here for future generations to enjoy. And it's not always easy. It hasn't always been a comfortable relationship. We have very strong personalities in the church, both on the board and in the laity over the years, and sometimes there is conflict. But I think through cultivating that sense of that we're all here to forward the same mission, and respecting each other's individual roles is the way that we have to move forward.
I have been here since our first minister, Dillman Sorrells, and I've never been a member of the board. And I've been here since our first minister, Dillman Sorrells, and I've never been a member of the board. And for that, I'm thankful and very grateful to those who serve in this way. Let me tell you how much as a professor, I hated faculty meetings. It was an occasion for people whose opinions we'd heard meeting after meeting after meeting to repeat those opinions. And so I'm just not a leadership type. But I heard Judy Burgett say something that I wanted to echo. We have had various committees that have not been active during the COVID period. And one of those, headed usually by Ellen Greenwood and Barry Shumpert, was the Social Justice Committee. And Judy Burgett just voiced that one of her motives for coming here was her interest in environmental issues. And I would like us, even through COVID, since it seems to be going to go on and on, to revive the Social Justice Committee and have at least one of its foci be on environmental issues. Pardon me getting my 2 cents in.
I'm Jerry Thornton. I was on the board over 10 years ago when Tom Rhodes was minister. And after that, for a while, I and a few other people, most of whom are no longer in the church, had what we called a Green Sanctuary Committee, which was focused on the environmental impact of the church and how to make ourselves more energy efficient.
and to participate in environmental issues. That committee eventually folded, unfortunately. And I would be interested, if others are, in reconstituting that over time. Judy's interested in that, and others. The work of the buildings and grounds has fallen in recent times mostly to Dave Goforth and Jonas Holdeman and myself. And part of what we try to do is to maintain the grounds in an environmentally sound manner and focus on keeping native species growing on the property to benefit wildlife. So if anybody's interested in helping reconstitute a green sanctuary committee, see me after the service and we'll talk about it.
Anybody else? Good. I think that everybody's had a little bit of a chance to have their say, but again, we will be around for a while after the service and have the Zoom coffee hour too, if something occurs to you. For once, Mother Nature has not pre-extinguished the chalice for us. So I will extinguish the chalice and close with our words that we've been using for the last few months. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace.